ban from the Mysterious Monkeys and a Kalista ban from Schalke.
So Kalista kind of taking the place of Caitlyn on the red side ban list because of her lane strength. One of the only AD carries really that has that dominant laning phase that is left. We talked about the Varus strength, the Caitlyn strength. Those are picks that still could come out. We're not expecting them to completely disappear.
However, something that is going to completely disappear from our games is that Jace. Perhaps Mysterious Monkeys just respect it too much after seeing Smitty J on it in 2 games. And although they seem to be able to shut it down in the last game, they decide they do not want to have to deal with it alongside the Tahm Kench, which is one of North Scaren's most played champions across the course of the split.
So we've still got the Tristana, we've still got the Zac available, the Elise, the Jarvan, all of these picks. The Alistar goes. That was played in the previous game by Dreams. Was in the first rotation that they picked that up.
And it worked out well for them as well. Like, it's something that obviously Schalke respect because they banned it out in the first game. Oh no, sorry, Mysterious Monkeys who banned it out in the first game, but it's obviously a champion that's very well respected on 7-16. Mysterious Monkeys, last time they had the first pick in this situation, went for the Tristana, and once again, that is where they will put their focus.
Now Schalke, they have the option to go for the Zac. Memento got his hands, I believe, on Zac in the game against RB, but we did see it come out in the regular split a little bit.
However, with the Janna left open, with the Poppy left open, Zac is no longer the ubiquitous, we must pick him, he's the best champion in the world anymore, Stress.
In fact, it was banned in the RB series, so it was not that series we see Memento, and they actually avoid it as well. It's the Elise that comes out here. Tristana, Braum, Sejuani would be an indicator of the previous games that we've seen out of MM on where they're going on this draft.
And it worked out well for them when they could get that combo going. However, it did force them a little bit later on into the game, which seems to be more Schalke's wheelhouse and their area of expertise. Instead, we will see Kikis on his area of expertise with the Camille, once again a split pusher in the top lane, Stress.
That does have some decent team fighting. Now, what they're doing is basically forcing Smitty J to either pick his top laner here or have all of the matchups you can play into Camille banned away. That's where Schalke go. They want if you've got one split pusher on the enemy side, why don't you just grab potentially the best split pusher in the game that can get there in the late game, as that Jax?
He has yet to play Jax this split as well. Of course, Smitty J known for his Jax. It was purely a recency thing. We all know that Smitty J was an incredibly strong Jax back in the day. We're getting into the second ban phase, and the Sejuani will be taken away from the Mysterious Monkeys. Amazing. Showed a good performance on that last time. LeBlanc banned by MM themselves. So they're focusing towards Kadril in that middle lane. Yeah,
again, a pick that Kadril showed us throughout this split of Challenger, looked very strong on. Gragas would be another ban here if Schalke went that route to take away some of Amazing's comfort champion, but Zac does still remain if they want it. It's actually going to be the Jarvan. Primary engage taken away from that jungle. And we've seen what Memento could do on the Jarvan in the last game. Now it's going to be Amazing that doesn't get his hands on it.
So Schalke is still looking for a mid laner and an AD carry here, Stress, whereas Mysterious Monkeys are looking for their jungle and their mid. There is a very, very, very slight possibility that you can flex the Camille into the jungle. It's something we saw when she first came out, actually in the Challenge Series qualifier tournament, but I doubt that's going to be the case.
I doubt it either. The AD carries here were left available. We finally are getting that Caitlyn.
We'll see if Deficio's right or not. Yeah, this is the one game that will prove whether Deficio is right.
Of course, you're referring to the fact that in closed-door conversations with Deficio, he believes Caitlyn's nerfs were a decent size. I wonder, he still hasn't finished his prep, so I'm not going to say that that is his committed answer.
That's what he said, Stress.
But in discussions with me, I feel like Caitlyn is still prominent enough that we'll see her in games. I don't want to misrepresent his opinion here because I think that's a dangerous thing to do.
I'm happy to
He's not here to defend himself.
I'm happy to misrepresent it as long as everyone can understand. I have a minor lace of sarcasm in my tone at the moment. The Syndra and the Gragas will be picked up by the Mysterious Monkeys, and now Schalke will look towards their mid lane for their final pick.
So, as we look at it, they've got late game, they need mid game, an earlier focus here for Kadril. Galio not available, so they're going to pick earlier game out in the form of the Lucian, of course. Mid lane, we've seen a lot of presence. You have a very taken aback look on your face here.
It's just not something that I would really expect from Kadril.
No,
we haven't seen him play
it.
the Lucian yet in the split, and Corki was Actually, no, Corki was banned. I missed the Corki ban, so that makes a little bit more sense.
It does, because they wanted some of that early game presence. They also kind of heavily going into the AD here. Of course, Jax does get some sense of magic damage that comes out from his kit as well. But basically, this is Schalke saying we're going to have 180 carry to keep us through the early game. We're going to have 180 carry for the late game. And we're going to have a split push threat as well. They've got to get later on into the game to get that Jax and that Caitlyn running in the game, whereas Mysterious Monkeys, very strong skirmish in the mid game. You've got the Tristana on 2 items. You've got the Syndra that we've seen amazing on his Gragas. Is always good at getting those fights started and denying them alongside the Braum. So Mysterious Monkeys may be able to win that split push game before Jax can get online.
And so much is on the line for both of these two teams. Stress. Schalke trying to get back into the LCS. Mysterious Monkeys trying to hold their spot there. A win today means you are 1 series win away from being in the European LCS 2018 Spring Split. And if you guys want to get involved, make sure you jump on Twitter at LOLesports, hashtag S04win if you think Schalke will take it, and hashtag MMWin if you think the Mysterious Monkeys will go 2-1 up in this series. A lot between these teams, a lot of history as well. Many members of the Mysterious Monkeys knocked Schalke out at their last attempt, and they are looking to do it once again as we get onto the Summoner's Rift for our 3rd game of the day. And
especially after the last game, Mysterious Monkeys will be kind of riding a high at this point. Very clean end to the game. And I'm kind of jumping forward in my mind 20 minutes into this game and seeing a future where Mysterious Monkeys have forced fights using the Syndra, the Gragas, getting that combination down and actually taking some of the weaker areas in the mid game of Schalke, like the Jax, like the Caitlyn, taking them apart before they can get there. Now, in order for Schalke not to fall prey to that, the Elise, the Thresh must get picks. Whether it's Memento setting Smitty J up on the top side, whether it's them coming to the mid lane, burning the flash and getting a kill onto CosQ, Schalke must get this pick composition working for them not to fall too far behind.
Mysterious Monkeys will try and just play the early game they've played across the last 2 matchups. Perhaps give up a little bit of Amazing's jungle in the first portion of the match. Let Memento do what he wants and say, okay, we'll just gank. We'll get Amazing with those body slams into lanes. Get Kickers perhaps roaming down as well, because the gank potential of a Camille, especially when you can jump from behind a tower, can be incredibly impactful.
Yeah. And as we jump into this game, wards were placed on the blue buff that has spotted Elise without assistance from the duo lane. You can see now out comes Upset into the bottom lane to try and actually get the early lane advantage. I want to touch on the changes to Caitlyn a little later in the game, because that's where they're going to start to affect Caitlyn more. Her early laning phase hasn't necessarily been changed, apart from a little off her push potential. Will still have that harass with the extra lane attack range advantage.
And that's the thing about a Caitlyn Thresh lane as well. We said Schalke perhaps should move towards a lane that wins a little bit more. Caitlyn Thresh is a lane that wins a little bit more. It's so oppressive to play into because of the range advantage, because of the headshots, because of the threat of a hook at any moment.
Mid lane, we know as another matchup that Schalke can win. The Lucian can play into Syndra. Early game, you can punish Syndra quite heavily. Around about level 6, she'll have the kill pressure on you, but you're looking to push the wave. Push and get damage on the tower. Syndra can't quite match the push presence of a Lucian when he's got the culling. Therefore, that's where Schalke will look to make those plays. But both junglers headed to the top lane, the only lane we haven't talked about yet.
Amazing gets the body slam onto a Memento. Kickers is forced off towards the top side as well. Smitty J on his way down. Level 3s for the junglers, only level 2. For the top laners, the stun onto Kick is the jump back. Memento has to jump up. Kick is low as Memento tries to catch onto him. But he's not caught in the web of the spider. And Amazing does have body slam flash here, Stress.
Oh, just the repel was enough to keep Memento alive. Amazing had already rolled the cask underneath him, and that meant that Kikis had to flash away, get himself out of the situation. So as yet, only the one summoner, but he said body slam flash, still there.
Cocoon though, and they're gonna jump straight onto Amazing. Ooh. He did not realize it. A great body slam though. Kikis with the tactical sweep will not get him through the repel. Amazing shows why he has this jungle experience and shows why his Gragas Gragas is to be feared.
Body slam on both members. Amazing. Looked like he was about to fall to SmittyJ and Memento. Ends up being able to disrupt both of them, get the kill, and that makes things quite tough now on this top side. SmittyJ, no flash. Kikis, no flash. Amazing, no flash. There's an opportunity for Memento to revisit the top lane soon, but if Memento doesn't get anything from that, he will start to fall a little behind. So, in Kikis went on aggressively to SmittyJ. Amazing. Just before Memento and SmittyJ can get extra damage out, is able to body slam backwards, get himself out alive. Camille should take the early game of this matchup when these trades aren't coming out from SmittyJ. You can see SmittyJ trading with a counter-strike, which means Kikis has to forego a lot of the trading point in that part of the matchup, but ends up losing the trade. Not a matchup we see very often in the Camille-Jax matchup, so I want to watch whether that is, in fact, how the trades will continue to go.
As you can see, Power of Evil knows exactly what it's like to be in this sort of position, as do many of the players in this game itself. There is so much that these teams are playing for and so much going through their minds, especially when you have a game like game number 1 where Schalke, full of adrenaline at the end, must have been on the edge of their seats taking the win. Mysterious Monkeys must have been dismayed that they lost after getting back into it, and then they come out and they play one of the cleanest games we have seen from Mysterious Monkeys this split.
And it didn't take Kikis split pushing the entire game. It took a little bit more on the skirmish end of things. And yes, people will say, okay, Schalke, the decision to go to Baron was the wrong one because of how they were punished. But the reaction out of Mysterious Monkeys was perfect. They were able to get the teleport to work, go for the aggressive skirmish. But in this game, the aggression has been focused on topside once again. Another game. But the difference is this time it is Kikis with the earlier setup for himself and the earlier advantage. That's how this game differs to the previous two.
Having a long sword in his back pocket that Smitty does not will definitely give him the advantage in the lane. And once again, Amazing's coming up towards this top side. Has been spotted on a ward. Smitty can play a little bit safer. Want to see him hold on to that counter-strike, knowing that Amazing is in the vicinity. I want to come back to mid lane as well here, Stress. We talked about how Cadrel, this is an early bully matchup for him. We said he is the member of Schalke that needs to get ahead and be able to help them get over the bump they're going to have in the mid game where Mysterious Monkeys come online. At the moment, he has a 10 CS advantage, but Amazing is looking for a gank.
The important thing in this matchup is the fact that Cadrel gets a very efficient item here in the Hex Drinker. Even going to get that culling. We mentioned how it's going to be used to push in Cosq, so you can either use it on the minion wave where it's there, or you use it on the champion if you can line it up. Earlier this week in the LCK playoffs, Faker used it to brilliant effect, just dominating Crown in their matchup. I think the same thing potentially could look to play out for Cadrel. He can use it against Cosq, chunk through the health, then push the wave back, get recall timings for himself, and eventually get damage on the tower.
And mid lane, we haven't really talked a huge amount about either of these players across the course of the last two games. Cosq did have a very good game in the last one, and we brought him up afterwards, but it's so important to realize how impactful, firstly, the role is at the moment, and how impactful how well your mid laner is playing can be on the course of the game. Look at a team like Misfits, where Power of Evil has played consistently well across the split. He has been the member that's carried them into playoffs, and both of these mid laners need to show us that they have the potential to match up against those other LCS mid laners. Yeah,
I feel we saw Cosq do it in the previous game where with his performance. I feel like Cadrel did it a little more in game 1. SmittyJ actually forcing the flash out there. I don't believe there was vision on Memento within the last 10 to 20 seconds, so I think Kikis actually read the situation as Memento being around, and that's why he dodged out the counter-strike stun. Doesn't want to get locked down. To revisit the mid lane point, this matchup is going to be about pushing for Cadrel, try to get the damage down, and maybe even look to roam, but he's already going to be tracked if he tries to move out of that lane. Control wards, top side of river, bottom side of river, will find Cadrel if he tries to go anywhere else.
So much more vision for Mysterious Monkeys as well across the map. There's control ward top side, as you say, control ward bot side, at least 3 or 4 wards around that Infernal Drake, as we see Cosq being given over his blue. Cadrel is going for the roam, Stress. He's looking up towards that top side. He's going to walk over a ward, and Mysterious Monkeys will realize that they need to back away.
Kikis is no flash. That's the key thing here. Cosq was able to drift up towards the river to try and get a stun, but nothing really comes of it. So right now, Schalke are actually still controlling this early game as to be expected. Not necessarily through the top lane we expected it, but smittyj is doing a good job with some of the attention that has been orbiting his lane. Memento hasn't necessarily been in the lane anytime recently, but this bottom lane is still going in their favor as well.
Just a slight lead for them. Hasn't been as impressive as perhaps it could have been for Schalke.
But we have started to see a little bit of the difficulty with the Caitlyn changes come through. So Caitlyn had a couple of changes on 7.16. First of all, her Q damage, the Piltover Peacemaker, the damage to targets after the first target actually was reduced to 50%. It used to be 67% down to 50%, so a little bit less on the pushing power. The other thing that was changed was the damage on her traps. The base damage and the scaling. Now that isn't necessarily as important in the laning phase. That's more for the mid game where you look to set up 5 traps in the middle lane, maybe even try and plant 1 or 2 in a skirmish or a team fight when you can get them out. It'll reduce some of the damage, but Caitlyn, when you get 4 items, is still going to hurt like a truck. You will still get that consistent damage from auto attacks.
Cadril hurting with the culling, but Mysterious Monkeys have been able to start up this dragon and secure it for themselves. They knew Memento was on the top side of the river because of that control ward that we talked about, and that is the value of vision early on. Can be underestimated how important it is to get control of the river in terms of having your wards down.
And that's where this Tristana actually is going to be a pick that also was picked already in the meta and may even become more prominent because the E for Tristana,
an explosive shot.
Yeah, the explosive charge will passively push the minions. Of course, when you kill one, it explodes, and then you kill the next one, it explodes, and you just push, push, push. If Caitlyn can't push quite as heavily because of the changes to Q, maybe that's a matchup that we see change ever so slightly. And you could see Yuki and Dreams had pushed out the bottom lane already, allows them to drift up towards the dragon and actually take it for themselves. So these key changes on 7.16 that were small, in my opinion, but still having an effect on the game.
We've seen a few times in the last couple of games a lane swap happening around this point. Cadril's going to jump away from Kikis, who was looking for the Hextech Ultimatum, but both teams seem to be satisfied in the 2v2 in bot and the 1v1 in top for the time being. No one's going to go for that full-on swap to a different lane.
And Cadril knew he didn't have to flash because there was no chance of a hookshot flash coming from Kikis. His flash is still not available from that trade that smittyj took on the top side. Of course, it's something we take for granted in LCS because it's something that teams figured out a long time ago, that communication over summoner spells can be something that we see challenger teams struggle on, but this is a 3v1 here. Oh,
good flash across the wall from Smitty.
The stun still caught him. The orb went all the way through the wall. No follow-up though.
It truly is a dark sphere. It's like a black hole that can traverse through time and through terrain stress. It's quite a lot of work.
That's a lot of physics involved there. I don't even know whether that's...
Hey, I had a great piece prepared about Greek philosophy for today, but I don't think we're going to get to it.
Oh, I thought you were about to say MM and Schalke weren't worth it. I was going to be like, that's disrespectful. I think they're worth it.
They're definitely worth it. It's about the discussion as to how much of a team do you have to change before it's no longer the same team.
Ah.
Because there's this idea. The game's a little bit slow, so we're going to break down this idea a little bit, Stress, okay?
Okay.
It's called the Ship of Theseus.
Okay.
And the idea was that this guy is on a ship and he's traversing across the ocean.
Sure.
And one by one, he's replacing the boards of his ship. And by the time he gets to the other shore, he has replaced every single board of his ship. Is it then a different ship, or is it still his ship? That's the question. So my question is, if a team replaces all of its members, is it still the same team, or is it an entirely different team?
For the purposes of competition and sports, typically it is the team or organization that we just call as the same team. I understand. It's a very interesting process.
Do you want to know what your philosophical argument there is?
Yes,
the name for that is called spatio-temporal permanence. If you occupy the same space and you travel through time in a linear fashion, you are a permanent organization. So Misfits, for example, would be a permanent organization no matter if they changed their entire roster. Schalke would be a permanent organization no matter if they changed every single one of their members, as they did when they went into the Challenger Series. And that is how we loop it all back, Stress, into this great game that we are witnessing at the moment. CS advantages for Schalke in every single lane, apart from bot, where Yuki's got a bit of an advantage for himself.
Wants to fight.
The Hextech ultimatum from Kicker's Memento smites away the red, but that's going to get stolen by Amazing as he steals Memento's life as well.
So a lot of what happened while we were talking about philosophy there was the fact that Kadril pushed out, went back, and at that opportunity, Kikis came through the top side with Amazing onto the red buff timing to make sure Memento fell. Now, what we haven't had in this game that we have had in both previous games was the duo lane swapping out. We've been in a prolonged laning phase, which allowed a discussion on philosophy, and that means at this point, Mysterious Monkey is actually finding a very small window to punish Memento. But I want to see how they make their next play. I want to see whether they actually do get out of the lane and look towards the tower. This is quite late for a first tower actually going down, but look, everybody's just on the recall, looking to scale a little bit more because Mysterious Monkeys don't want to properly fight yet. Neither does Schalke. Schalke are just content with Lucian pushing out the mid lane and going, okay, I'm going to recall now.
It is a telling point in this game that we are at the 15-minute mark, Stress, and neither team has taken that first step. Yep. Mysterious Monkeys, once again, 2 kills up. Their early game has been strong, but both the teams going for more late-game orientated compositions here. Because Kadril hasn't had absolute dominance of this mid lane, and because of good river control from Mysterious Monkeys, we haven't been able to see him roam. Because we've seen the side lanes being left alone mostly, especially the bottom lane, we haven't been able to see a lane get a pure advantage over their opposition. So we're going to get to late game, we're going to get to these team fights that I love to watch between these two teams.
And we're going to get to the split push as well. One champion that loves a long laning phase where he doesn't get pressured and doesn't really lose too much farm is Jax. The other thing he likes is if he gets just free farm out on the side lane anytime. But look, Jax in a laning phase where he's close to the point of a Trinity Force being completed, only 1 death ahead in CS, is a great point to start scaling on that split push to. And Camille, late on into the game, shouldn't be able to hold on against the 2-item, 3-item Jax.
And it comes back to this discussion point of the play styles of Schalke Null Fear. Where do they put their priority? Do they say, Smitty J, you carry us, you get this Jace, you get this Jax, and you really put the pressure down? Or do they say, well, let Upset carry in the late game? Here they've done a little bit of both. They said Upset will give you a carry, but Smitty J, go to something you love, go to something you know, and perhaps you'll be able to step up against Kikis.
There is going to be a moment in this game where Kadril has so much on his shoulders because his Caitlyn is going to be down in damage. It might even be this moment here. Kadril's going to have to come up.
Smitty J there with the counter-strike will just jump away. The flash was used by Memento, which meant they weren't able to re-engage. Unleash power onto Kadril. That's the power of the Hex Drinker we were seeing.
Didn't even proc the shield at the same time. So yes, the power of the magic resist that passively is there, but also the safety with heal, with Hex Drinker. Everything should mean CosQ doesn't have the kill threat without somebody else being there. But this is a much slower paced game than games 1 and 2. At this point in game 2, we'd already seen the Rift Herald play out of Mysterious Monkeys. We'd already seen them making plays for towers, the objective trades overall. Right now, it's only the one Infernal Drake that has gone down in favor of Mysterious Monkeys, and Schalke want to try and even that up with a Mountain Drake for themselves.
And when the game gets a little bit slower like this, you start to think about vision predominantly. You start to say which team has a better awareness of where the other team is on the map. At the moment, Mysterious Monkeys do know that this is happening. Yuki jumps in, but the dragon resets. Good play from Schalke 04 to allow it. Oh, Dreams, that was very
close.
Mysterious Monkeys will start the Rift Herald for themselves. It would have been great for them to get both, but they will satisfy themselves with one. And I want to see if we see that set play against Stress. I want to see if Mysterious Monkeys once again just go mid with this. And Oscarin lands a good hook. He's going to go in as Upset and Memento get the flank. They're trying to stop them from getting the Rift Herald, but Kikis does pick it up. Smitty J with the counter-strike, can't get the stun. Amazing's in the backline, but they don't care about him. He's too tanky on the Gragas. Hextech Ultimatum will not be enough to save Kikis, and now CosQ's out of position. Kadril comes in with the flank. The exhaust comes down. The ace in the hole will not connect as Dreams tanks it up. The culling doesn't do too much either, just forces Yuki back down to half HP.
Upset actually still has ace in the hole available now. It looked like it had D-cast. I guess it got interrupted now. Speaking of interruptions, Mysterious Monkeys want to try and interrupt the push from Schalke Null Fear. So the trade ends up going Rift Herald onto Kikis, was successfully picked up. Schalke got the kill, now looking to just push the tower down as fast as they can, but they got to be careful. Upset does get stunned, no follow-up comes through, but that is Schalke trying to reduce the immediate impact that a Rift Herald would do when Kikis respawns to get out on map.
Imagine if that hook had hit the Rift.
I was going to say that. Norscarer may very well have had enough damage there to get that. So Kikis had picked it up, commits to it, he ends up dying. It's okay in that sense for Kikis because they will theoretically get a tower from it. But the rest of the fight going in Schalke's way is pretty significant because it allowed them to get a lot of damage extra onto the tower. You can see Upset didn't get that full channel on the ultimate, so didn't end up firing. There is the ultimate coming through.
Perfectly timed.
Again, a lot of abilities traded onto Coscu. Try and get him low. He's got no flash. He can't stay under the tower consistently to push the wave when Schalke are trying to push out.
Stress, we're 20 minutes into this game, and it's so close between these two. Much more reminiscent of Game 1 than Game 2, in my opinion. It's a 1,000 gold lead for Schalke 04. Still no first tower blood. Very late on that because of the prolonged laning phase. And that prolonged laning phase has meant we're starting to see items a little bit quicker than perhaps we usually would. Trinity Force finished onto Smitty J, almost a Triforce on Kikis as well. The Blade of the Ruined King on Kadro now into just a Morello for Coscu. He is falling ever so slightly behind in that mid lane.
And the problem is, remember, Syndra had some of that later game damage shaved off the top. Some of the ratios dropped on her Q. Some of the damage added onto her E, of course, but that is a lot less consistent. Fewer E's in a fight that you're actually going to get out. And that means, again, this point of the game starts to be a very good point for Kadril and Schalke now. Remember, I had the premonition that Mysterious Monkeys would be forcing fights using the Gragas, getting themselves into exchanges using Coscu Syndra. Well, that hasn't really materialized yet. There are a few opportunities incoming now as they're going to try and use the Rift Herald, look for that set piece once again, but it hasn't materialized because of how Schalke won the last fight.
And I want to come back to that point as well, because it did materialize to start us off. You know, we saw First Blood top, we saw Amazing pick that up, we saw Kikis get a longsword over his lane opponent, but what Memento and Smitty J have done so well is be able to control that top side of the map, and Kadril continually pushing in meant that Mysterious Monkeys had to be afraid of a third man joining the fight at any given moment. Once again, Amazing caught out by Memento. Norscaren's here, the knockback with the explosive cast. Memento jumps up and is pulled out, but Kikis just loses to Smitty J. That's what a Triforce, when it's completed, can do on a Jax. And now Schalke 04 are bringing all 5 members up to the top lane.
Yeah, Kikis was actually just on his own Triforce, but hadn't bought it. He had enough gold to finish it off, hadn't had it in his inventory. Typically, the Jax point of a game is after that second item, but when Kikis takes a trade like that where he doesn't have the itemization, doesn't have a flash available, Smitty J will take control. And again, mid lane now, Kadril are going to be able to push down that tower.
Memento was there on the flank as well, which means that Yuki has to jump away. First tower blood to Schalke 04, with it a 2,500 advantage and a Baron without vision for the Mysterious Monkeys. They do not react, they do not know this is going on yet. Amazing may have a tiniest of inklings, but it's going to be too little too late. Schalke 04 with a great Baron take.
Oh, Medic, it's gone from bad to worse with something we didn't have any kind of alarm for as the Baron got taken. You want to know what is the worst part of this trade for Kikis? Just after dying, after taking a bad trade, the Rift Herald expires in his inventory with 13 seconds left on his death timer, and it means that Mysterious Monkeys now are playing up against a Baron buff without a Rift Herald after they just barely squeaked it out for themselves. And you mentioned that this is more like Game 1 than Game 2. Now, I feel like it's the mirror of Game 2, where Schalke are now in such a great position, looking to close it out in a clean way. Considering Kikis died 1v1 to Smitty J, I don't think Kikis is going to be able to hang on in this game. And Camille, yes, she is meant to be this hybrid of team fight and split push. When you got a Jax split pushing against you, you're going to lose that 1v1 again and again, as long as he's ahead.
a Jax with Baron buff as well. Just makes it even easier for him to split. He does back away because they don't have vision control.
Cable's in the top side. That's why this engage is coming out from Kikis. They just want any kill.
Hexa got Momentum onto Northscare, and they will be able to lock him down. Momentum comes in with a flame, but a great engage onto Upset. He flashes away and will escape for the time being. smittyj now in the backline. Here comes the culling as well. Schalke want this fight. They're knocked back on 2. Kikis going to get taken out with the ace in the hole, and now Schalke in a 4v4. The Cable's stunned up and taken down. Yuki with another kill for himself. A great engage from the Mysterious Monkeys.
Yeah, amazing. And Kik is able to get right onto Northscare and try and get anything that they could. Now they can finally look to push this tower down. Of course, Baron buff minions are going to delay as well on this push. It's difficult for Mysterious Monkeys to continue pushing through without a wave here. Only 2-3 minions. No, actually, new wave does just join, and it's a cannon wave. So this tower will fall.
It's development stress. This is what we wanted from the Mysterious Monkeys, because I can remember so often in the LCS when they went behind like this, they would not search for a proactive engage. And you noticed it, and they noticed it. Kadra was not there with the team, and the Mysterious Monkeys pulled the trigger and managed to get themselves back into this game.
And that dragged smittyj from the bottom lane with his teleport usage. And we know Jax isn't as effective a team fighter. That is one area that a Camille will have that additional impact through the ultimatum that comes through, locking people in. The ability to get damage onto the backline threats is not to be overlooked. But we need to see now smittyj still push out this bottom lane. He can't do it as effectively because he doesn't know where Mysterious Monkeys are, but he's pushed it out towards the tower. Got to try and compound that lead. Continue to look for more, but when there's no TP, no flash, difficult for him to do so.
Has finished split.
Oh, there's Kadril now.
Just jumps into the top side. Kadril caught out. Coscu there as well. The Unleashed Power will secure the kill. And Kikis is doing a very good job considering he cannot play in the 1v1.
Same thing again here from Mysterious Monkeys, finding an individual member of Schalke out on their own. And this is eaten through the time on this Baron buff. There will only be maybe the one more turret on the bottom side that Schalke can actually secure for themselves. This has been a good reply to that Baron play around Schalke.
It's been a superb reply because Schalke have actually only got one tower off this Baron play, and Mysterious Monkeys are going to get 3. That is an incredible reply from them, catching people out in so many awkward situations. And smittyj actually might get a second tower, so it's still going to be a 3-for-2 in favor of the Mysterious Monkeys. And the gold lead shrinks as well. It's only 2,000 in favor of Schalke, even after getting that back.
Look at smittyj already move up and say, I dare you to come closer to me. Kikis knows, gives him a little wave from a distance, says, I'm not coming to fight you. But still, like, the fact that smittyj is this strong in the 1v1 will reassert itself on this game. Great response out of Mysterious Monkeys to try and make any kind of play. It wasn't that they just rolled over. Oh, it wasn't quite a rollover, a jump over the Dragon Pit. But look, Mysterious Monkeys still trying to make plays with the Gragas. We know they can with the Camille as well. If they can get that to happen 1 or 2 more times, maybe they'll get back into this game, look for a Baron when it respawns.
Scaling is on the side of Schalke Null Fear, though. Jax into Camille late game is always in favor of the Jax, especially when you have a 2-level advantage over your lane opponent.
And a 2,000 gold advantage as well.
I'll take that any day of the week. And what Schalke Null Fear are looking to do is take the second win in this best-of-5 series. Having a win today sets you up so well for next week as well. It means you're only 1 series away from that spot in the LCS. And so many pros say that the 3rd game of a best-of-5 is the most impactful one, because you come into the next game, if you get the win, only needing 1 win, whereas the other team knows that they have to win 2 in a row if they're going to be able to take the series.
Yeah, that ebb and a flow of a series that puts pressure back and forth on teams. Hard to speak to that mentality without players saying it themselves, but as you said, a lot of players do discuss that point. I want to look back in-game at this point, because smittyj was trying to push up to the inhibitor tower, but very safely actually drops back. There's a pink ward now in Tribush behind him. That's why he knows he's safe, but there aren't any other real wards through the bottom side jungle. Cleared out the 2 that were there, and now it's on Schalke to re-establish that vision control that gives smittyj the safety to push up. So many times we see two mistakes out of Jack's players. One of them is team fighting at an early stage in the game. You should almost never, if you can avoid it, team fight. And the other one is don't push up without vision control. Schalke have played well around that so far this game. And SmittyJ, very controlled, recalls out, buys himself a Guardian Angel, and will feel a lot more confident when he can get a little bit more vision control as well.
Mysterious Monkey's vision control generally has been perhaps a slight step above Schalke 04, and I feel that part of that is them being in the LCS for the split. Part of it is the experience of Amazing and Kikis as well, being able to dictate the pace of these games a little bit. Baron up in 30 seconds, and you can see Mysterious Monkeys know they need to get the vision control around it.
And it's going to be a non-committal attempt here from Schalke. Now, they can't afford to lose all sense of Baron control and have Mysterious Monkeys rush it down, but what they can do is get shallow vision here, establish control on the pit. They have two blue trinkets to deny any attempt out of Mysterious Monkeys, push the mid lane out, and allow SmittyJ to work on the bottom side. As long as you have any kind of tracked progress on Amazing, so you can see whether he's bottom side or on the Baron, you should be okay, but that's a great engage.
Gets the cast back, the knock onto Norskeren. Yuki jumps across, dreams low, Norskeren having to jump away. Explosive charge on him though. Yuki now has the reset, Upset takes a crit to the face. SmittyJ and Kikis are still fighting in the bottom lane. Look at the damage from Upset. The unleashed power comes onto him and forces him away. Mysterious Monkeys set the trap, they baited it.
Oh, SmittyJ, he's 2 levels up.
Kikis will pop the Hexagon Amazing, but SmittyJ just says goodbye. He's happy to be in the cave.
Oh, what? He's just hanging it up.
Who cares? Who cares, Stress? When you are SmittyJ, when you are on your most comfortable champion, when you are disproving the haters who said Kikis is better than you, that is exactly what you do. Mysterious Monkey starting up the Baron, but Amazing gets caught out. Cagel there as well. Yuki's dead. Coscu's gonna fall to the ace in the hole, and Memento with the chase. That's SmittyJ's on the base. That's game. SmittyJ will be able to close this one out, and there is no response from the Mysterious Monkeys.
The Jax into the Camille matchup has dictated the entire pace of this game for Schalke. It looked like Mysterious Monkeys were trying to preempt a Gnar pick. The Jax comes out. It's one of the quintessential SmittyJ champions, and he proves to Mysterious Monkeys why you shouldn't let him have this champion. And that's going to be the game. Baron does come active onto SmittyJ. Kikis is going to try and stop him, but he's just going to march this down.
Schalke can only win when SmittyJ backdoors. He takes the Nexus, and they go 2-1 up in this series over the Mysterious Monkeys.
What an odd series. We've had a close game and 2 games that look very controlled for the most part. Schalke with SmittyJ on the bottom lane, able to just push through. He still had the Guardian Angel available if it had come to it. Almost looked under no threat. Kikis taking a couple of rough trades, no real advantage gained in the top side, and so much of this matchup has been the 2 versus 2, top and jungle. And this time, in Game 3, Schalke come out ahead and put SmittyJ in such a commanding position.
I was looking at the damage numbers, Stress, as well, to try and work out if there was like a huge spike for the Jax over the Camille, but because there was actually so few team fights, there were only 14 kills in a 30-minute long game. Jax didn't even do more than 10,000 damage to champions in that game. It's an incredibly low number considering how effectively he played, but it shows you don't need to do damage to be able to control your lane.
I wish we could get damage into towers, because I think that would be more telling from this game. On the other side, Mysterious Monkeys started out well, getting a couple of kills for themselves. It looked good. But the fact that they couldn't get presence around mid lane because the Lucian was constantly pushing, the Elise was around middle lane, meant that Mysterious Monkeys slowed down, and it was only past the 20-minute mark where they started looking for those aggressive plays, only once Schalke already had the Baron for themselves. And that means it was almost too little too late. Mysterious Monkeys didn't quite go into the game with the playstyle their composition was sort of looking for. Ends up now that they're 2-1 down in this series to Schalke.
And that is a difficult position to be in. Of course, we must remember Mysterious Monkeys are not relegated if they lose this series. They still have at least one more series next week. You've got 2 wins get you into the LCS, 2 losses relegate you from the LCS in terms of series. And if you are Mysterious Monkeys, you're looking at that and you're saying, what do we change? How do we adapt for the next one? I think a little bit more confidence in the mid game, perhaps a little bit less top lane focus as well, because it seems to me like Memento and SmittyJ, when they're on these comfort champions, do just seem to have the number on Amazing and Kikis.
And I don't know whether, like, I've got the draft in here, and I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken here. The Gnar was available when they picked the Camille, and you kind of blind pick Camille for Mysterious Monkeys. I think that's the adaptation that I would like to see in the next game. If kind of fate turns in the same way as the previous time Schalke had their side selection, it'll be Schalke on the blue side. So Mysterious Monkeys will be able to counterpick top lane regardless. That's one other thing that we know Mysterious Monkeys have done well. I think those are the adaptations maybe that we'll have to see.
Maybe even see Schalke deciding to go on red side instead of blue. We're going to come back to that top lane, and we have talked about it a lot across the game, but it was so impactful. Such a great play as well from SmittyJ just generally, especially at the end of the game, was able to take out Kikis, then they got the Baron, then they were able to close out the game. Just talk me through what's going on in the minds of these players.
So at this point, Mysterious Monkeys are trying to force kind of a play on the Baron to try and get a kill. SmittyJ knows he's won this matchup already, can tank up the tower, he's got the Guardian Angel, doesn't even matter. And at this point, SmittyJ basically says, okay, I've got the game won, don't let them get the Baron, don't let them have control over this, and just the damage that comes down. We spoke about how Cadril had consistent damage all the way through this mid-game part, and you see it here. Through Upset, through Cadril, they push Mysterious Monkeys away, and they already know the game's won at this point. They just turn for Baron just in case, and it's a matter of time of just whittling down the towers, and this all stems from the earlier plays where they got the first Baron, they opened up the map very well, and SmittyJ was never really focused down. He died once, remember, that was in the early game, through a play from Mysterious Monkeys on the top side, but that was the only point where SmittyJ was actually under pressure.
And you can see amazing watching over the replays there and perhaps wondering a little bit about how it all went wrong, because they did get first blood up towards that top side. They did get a lead for Kikis in the lane. And then it felt like SmittyJ was just a superior top laner at times. He was able to win those 1v1s, scaled up a little bit quicker on that Jax as well. I want to come across to some of the other lanes as well. Cadril in the mid lane, although he ended with a relatively poor KDA, 1-2-3 doesn't look impressive, actually did exactly what he needed to do for Schalke. He controlled that mid-game portion. He was able to control the lane and keep Cosq under wraps. Yeah,
always kept Cosq pushed under tower, and that's the way the Lucian takes control of that matchup. That's how you assume control of the river and just constantly keep the enemy on the back foot. It doesn't open up for many advantages for Amazing to look into the enemy jungle. We saw a handful. We saw that kill on the red buff against Memento where Mysterious Monkeys playing a little risky on that play, but from that, I think that kind of shows us the growth of Cadril here. He is proving to be quite a versatile player when you look at his champion pool, play styles, and how he can play out the different matchups.
All of the matchups have been incredibly close. Schalke 04 just one win away from taking the series and being one step closer to the LCS. Make sure you join us for that perhaps final game on